Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. Welcome all you cool ghouls and friendly fiends to the House of the Unusual podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pavlansky, and with me as always is the maestro of mail order mysteries, Eddie Guevara.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Eddie. All right. Today we also got that famous horror magician that we all know and love, Chuck Caputo. What's up, Chuck?
All right.
And joining us today is our good buddy and returning guest. You all know him, Michael Mezmer. Michael, what's up?
Hey, I'm really excited to be with you guys today again. It's been a while.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Well, we'll get into how everyone's doing and what everyone's been up to, and just kind of I guess a warning out there. If me and Chuck happen to disappear, you guys have to go on with the show without us because we got some severe weather heading our way during this recording. So, and I lose power so easy here at the house. Just a brief little wind and boom, everything goes down for hours. So, if we happen to disappear, then that's what happens. So hey, we'll get on with everyone here and see what's been new and how everyone's doing. And you know what, Michael, it's been a little while. What's new with you, brother?
Well, I've been on tour in Texas and been working on. I just premiered a new escape that I have been working on that I call Claustrophobia, and which is kind of appropriate because tomorrow is actually the anniversary of Houdini's birthday. Matter of fact, on Sunday, the Society of American Magicians is having an all-day 15-hour event celebrating Houdini. And so it's kind of a Houdini kind of week right now. But yeah, I've been working on that. I also, and we can talk more about Houdini, which would be really cool in a while. But also, I have been nominated for a Rondo this year, which I'm very excited about.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was for my two-part article of monsters and magic in issues 121 and 122.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. In fact, I'll have to get information to you guys. I need your vote, so I'll have to get you guys my information.
Yeah, give me the information.
Michael, I already put you. I voted about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I think, or last week, and I already put you down. So you got my.
Oh, thank you. I have no idea who nominated me, but what an honor. I mean, there's guys there's heavy hitters in there. I mean, for instance, in the category I'm in for Best Article, you have Catherine Leigh Scott, who was on Dark Shadows, writing about an interview she did with David Hennessy, who was the boy David on Dark Shadows. So you've got heavy hitters in my category. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. It's really an honor and really exciting. For those that are listening, the Rondo is sort of equivalent to an Academy Award, but for monster and horror fans and movies and media. So it's a big thing and very, very exciting. Thank you, Joe, for voting for me. I so appreciate it.
Absolutely. And for people out there that are wondering how they could vote, or what they are, if you just type in classic horror film board, it'll the website will pop up, and it is the third one down. It'll say Rondo Hatton Classic Horror Award. So you'll just click on that, and there will be a form subsection there where you could just copy and paste the ballot. They give you instructions on how to fill it out and who to email it to. It's very, very, when you first look at it, it might be intimidating because there's a lot of stuff there. But what's nice is you don't have to vote for everything. You could pick and choose out of there what you want to vote for, and you could just copy and paste it right into an email and send it off with your name, and your vote will be counted. So it's very easy, and it's on the classic horror film board.
I'm so excited because it's rare. I think I really, truly, I read a lot of, I've been reading since Famous Monsters, Joe, as you have too, and all these. And I don't recall ever seeing an article that was as thorough or even had the topic of the magic in the monster movies and who provided it, who taught them, the actors, the whole thing. It's a 10,000 word article combined. And I went to Max Maven, who's a very famous mentalist at the Magic Castle and around the world, but he's a historian on magic. So I even went to him to get additional information to pen the article. So it's, I think, the most extensive article on that subject, which is amazing, really, in the history of all the monster magazines.
Awesome. Very good. Yeah, it was definitely, I remember reading it. Great article. A lot of information. And, if you guys haven't, you know, read the article yet, definitely find those issues. You could find them on mymoviemonsters.com, the back issues. And Mike, real quick, once again, what issue numbers were they?
That's issue 121 and 122.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, they definitely have all the back issues there. So make sure you guys pick it up and check out the article. So if you want to read
Definitely.
them, if you want to read them before voting, pick them up. They'll ship to you very quickly. I think voting ends, is it April 1st?
Something like the first week in April. Yeah. So yeah, definitely do it before April 1st.
Yeah. Mike, if for some reason I don't have issue 122, is because Joe failed to send me one.
Oh,
so blame him,
Well, for you, either any of you guys, if you message me, for you guys only, I will send you a copy of my original manuscript if you'd like to read it.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just message me, okay?
That's fantastic. Send it to me if you got my email.
Yeah, I'll text message it to you, the link, because it's a WeTransfer download. So I'll just send the link to you and you guys can download it. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Cool.
Now, one thing I wanted to mention to you, Mike, that article I did read, I remember the first part, which is in the one magazine. And I remember trying to get to the second part, which I don't remember actually getting the magazine. Courtesy of somebody. But anyway, the thing I just wanted to let you know is it was a fantastic article, man. I really liked it.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's a labor of love. And I think that's why probably it got nominated, because I really put my heart into that one.
Awesome. Very cool. Now, do you got any upcoming articles, Mike, for Scary Monsters or any other magazines?
Right now, I've been busy on my book. I think we talked a little bit about that last time, but I've submitted now the manuscript to the publishers. It's going to be coming out, though. It won't come out till next year at this time, actually, because of their queue of all their books. But that's the Ghost Transfer, A Hypnotist Among the Spirits. And it's going to be about a 70,000 word book, and it's about all my ghost adventures and ghost hunting, and even about my grandpa when he was in the coal mines and mysterious things that happened to him before I was born. So it's going to be a really cool book, but we'll talk about that one down the line.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to read that. That sounds really, really cool, man. And hopefully, definitely when that comes out, we'll be talking a lot about it. So
cool.
All right, awesome, man. It sounds like you've been busy. So Chuck, what's been new with you? I'm sure you've still been busy with shows and all that. I know last time we talked, you said you were getting inundated with, shows because everything's starting to open up now. So still doing the same thing.
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
awesome.
I've been doing a lot of shows. I've been doing a lot of traveling and so forth. As a matter of fact, the shows start back up Saturday and Sunday. So I keep it very busy, and I'm also building a few things in my spare time. For those of you who do not know, Robert Houdin was the father of modern magic, and I'm working on a replication of his pastry chef.
Oh wow!
Like Stage Illusion, but this is a tabletop version. But it's actually kind of cool if you guys actually search Robert Houdin's pastry chef. It's what it is. It's a little chef. It's a mechanical house, and basically, I just wind it up and I just step aside, and the front doors open up, and there's a little chef that comes out, and he has a tray in it. And so from a little menu, like a spectator chooses, like a specific French pastry, and they put the order on his tray. He goes back inside, the doors close, and then a light comes on inside, and from one of the side windows, actually with a rolling pin, like he's rolling out the dough and so forth. It's it's like really cute. And then the doors reopen, and then he comes out. And on the tray is the selected pastry. So it's it's a very complex item, and I've been putting it off. Like I had it about half built for over a year, and I'm finally sitting down and I'm trying to get this thing built. So once I am done, I will put a video on. It'll probably take about another month at least, because there's a lot of work and a lot of design that goes into this.
Wow, that sounds cool. Hey, Chuck, I got it. You know what? I don't think we've discussed this before, or if anybody's asked you now, because you build a lot and you're always, making stuff from scratch. And a lot of our magic kits that we put out here, you have built from scratch. Now, do you have a separate room at your house where you or just have it dedicated to, the stuff that you build with all your machines and equipment and all that?
Yeah. Down in my basement, but it's not as it's not as fancy as you may think. I mean, I just have a little table saw, a little disc sander, a drill press, a coping, like a vice grip type of thing. You know what? It's not as complex as you might think, but it gets the job done. And
does it look like a grandpa's dungeon in the monster?
Yeah, I guess we gotta,
then we're okay with that.
Yeah. And I'm
Come on,
pretty
you
good.
gotta have all the spark. When you're down there building it, you gotta have the spark going, and the Jacob's ladder going, and all that. And once in a while, you gotta look up to the ceiling and go, it's alive.
Yes.
You know what? The Jacob ladders are so cool. Speaking of that, I actually built one a couple years ago.
Did you really?
Yeah, that runs on battery. You know what?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, these are all usually made from a neon sign transformer, and
right.
It's AC powered. But I built one that's out of battery, and it's a really cool, man. Like the power will go up between the two rods, and it's actually powerful. It's powerful enough where you can light a cigar. It's
wow.
It's on YouTube. If you check Chuck Caputo's Jacob's Ladder, you'll see.
I'm gonna tell you what, Chuck. I need one of those. So when I go to the cigar lounge and
that would be cool.
Someone says, "Hey, how are you gonna light your cigar?" And I sit down the Jacob's Ladder and I have it.
Yeah. And I got about 7 9-volt batteries wired in parallel. So that'll.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that'll tell you the amount of voltage.
That'll burn the whole cigar in one shot.
Yeah, really. Yeah, really. One puff and it'll be gone.
Last? How long do the batteries last, Chuck?
You know what? Not too long. Maybe if you run it maybe for like 5 minutes and turn it off, like there's a little switch that I have on it. It's almost like a lever switch. If you run it for a while, maybe 10 minutes, and if you turn it off and maybe put another 10 minutes, you might get a half an hour out of it. That's how much it does. You know what? It actually burns a lot of juice, and the batteries do get a little bit warm. And I actually put, actually wired resistors in there to help.
Oh wow!
So the current's kind of limited, but
yeah.
But it's still gonna burn a lot of energy. You know what I mean? But it's a cool, neat thing. I always admire the Jacob's Ladder.
Oh yes,
Frankenstein movies and so forth.
Does it make any noise? Any like?
Kind of.
Does it?
You know what? Chuck, check it out on YouTube. It'll actually crack.
Okay.
It's all battery operated, and my son's an electrician, so he helped make sure I did everything right, so it doesn't catch anything on fire. I always get his second opinion when it comes to stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Are you marketing that?
No, I just put one together myself.
Okay.
But, you know what? Sometime in the future, if I do build one, like an extra one, I'll definitely let you guys know.
Well,
by the way, I was going to tell you, I've been watching all the videos of the stuff you and Eddie are putting together. Boy, that's cool stuff.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, I really have enjoyed the videos. The videos are cool. And you know what's nice about those demonstrations is that any age can really perform them and enjoy doing them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One of the greatest marketing for Jacob's Ladder, if you ever do decide to make it, is you got Joe to light up his cigars. And the best part, since it burns the cigar in one shot, it limits cancer in people. You got to.
Yeah.
Joe, you'll make a fortune with it, Joe.
Yeah, one puff and my cigar will be gone. I said, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
I look cool while doing it, so that's all that matters.
That's right.
You should actually do one and light it, and then we'll put it up in the website.
Hey, I did watch. You know what? I did watch a classic movie. You know what? Since we're talking about old time stuff, it was the original Phantom of the Opera from 1925. You know what? Like I actually sat down and watched the whole thing from front to end. Wow, what an awesome movie!
That's one of my all-time favorites. I probably watched that 2 or 3 times a year.
Oh my goodness! What a face, man! When that woman, when the mask off of Lon Chaney. Oh my goodness, he really come up with a neat looking face that he distorted to make that look on him. Wow, that was unbelievable.
Well, and it was a painful makeup too for him. I mean,
yeah. You know what? That's what I've been hearing, that he uses fish line and all kinds of things to wrap around his face and
wire around his nose and everything. And it was very painful. Lon was an amazing guy. I mean, the thing I loved about him was that if there was a call for a certain kind of, like if a producer was doing a film and the casting people were saying, we're looking for pirates, well, he'd show up at the audition looking like a pirate. So that's how he got a lot of his early start in the business, from vaudeville to going into film, because he would literally make himself fit whatever the extras or the
Boy, what a talented guy. And I tell you what, I thought they did a really good a version, because I think they did a better version, than even the modern ones, because if you read the original book by Christopher Rowe, I mean, they room with the mirrors in it, which, you know, is very seldom seen, like in the more modern ones. I mean, it was really neat.
It is neat.
Can that face compare to the one we have, one of our celebrities in one of our magic tricks called The Gathering? Which one is better?
Almost what it looks like too.
I love the look on Joe. That's pretty good.
Anyway,
Joe.
Chuck, I got a question for you. That rolling pin you got there, is it dual use for that little rubber Houdini? Does it have dual use?
No, it just fits in his hands, and there's a little servo that pulls him down.
That's a shame, because I was hoping you could work in a better version. You see, I have two things. I have one, it's a certain individual. I didn't get issue 122.
Yeah.
And there's another guy who puts things in the post, and then that certain individual finds it before anybody, and then he gets it all for free. So I kind of want to use it for both of them, if you know what I mean.
Put a little miniature of me in there, and it comes out all battered up.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Chuck, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
When you approach building this automaton, did you find the original plans in a particular book, or did you just did you watch it or see photos of it and then just create your own methodology for building the prop?
Yeah, I would go with the second one. You know what? No, there are no plans that I know of, you know, but there is a guy down in California, John Goff.
Right.
You know, like, which I'm sure you know, he I think at one point had the original, or he actually you know, built his version of it. So I actually seen his version.
Oh,
yeah. You know what? So once you watch it from the outside, you know, like what it does and everything, you know, I could kind of sit down and so I can, so you know, so I could say, okay, this guy has to come out of the doors. The doors have to open, but they have to close as well. So there has to be some type of an elastic type of thing that's going to pull the doors closed, you know? Yes. So I basically sit down and I just, you know, come up with my own schematic.
You kind of reverse engineer it.
Yeah. It does take a long time to do it. You know what I mean? And, you know, but then when I built the house, you know, like the house itself, the pastry chef, you know, the bakery is really cool because I built it all from wood.
Wow.
Yeah, and I did actually find a picture of the original one on the Robert Houdin books, the one from Christian Fechner.
Right.
And so I actually kind of copied from there as best as I could. And so I said, actually, you know, cut out the pieces on my little saw and sanded it.
Wow.
And everything. Yeah, so it looks pretty cool. I mean, I think it turned out pretty good. You know what? You know, strangely enough, Michael, things like that, you know, like when I sit down and it kind of is almost like therapy to me. You know what?
Sure.
It's kind of relaxing.
How long did it take to build it from conception to you know?
Well, the outside part, like I said, the actual box and everything, probably about 3 weeks, and then I had the proper motors and the servo, you know, that were laying inside of it that I untouched. It was untouched here. I didn't play with it, like I said, for over a year, and I got it back out about a week and a half, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to quit making excuses, and I'm going to sit down and try and finish this thing as best as I can, you know. So that's pretty much what I've been doing for the last week and a half.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say, I'll add to what I was going to do. I know, Joe, I kind of jumped you there from introducing me, I guess.
Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Guevara. Eddie.
The whole thing is, I was going to tell you, let me know about that miniature Joe to insert in there. I'll have it made professionally, you know.
Make sure it has real big muscles and long flowing hair. And
I was going to say, it was kind of funny. I wanted to bring this up to you guys. I emailed already all you guys or text an image of a house. It's an old Victorian home. I'll tell you a little story about it. It was kind of interesting. I came across yesterday. I was taking my wife over to a doctor's appointment, and I drove by what is Englewood Hospital in Englewood, New Jersey, and I noticed just up ahead, about a block and a half, there's an old Victorian house. This is like out of the 1800s, and it's been there for some time. I remember seeing it a while back, but I forgot all about it. And I passed by and it looked like it was empty. So I said to my wife, I got to take a picture of this. I need to see what's the deal with this property, because it looked abandoned or something. Perfect haunted house. So then I find out that the house was built in 1860 something, and it's there, and a couple of famous people have lived in it, but it was bought out by some synagogue, and it was used in between to fill it with not audiences, you know, with people from the meetings, whatever they had. And after a while, I think the city declared the house dangerous, so it said not to use it for anything, so it's just standing there. And now there is a group of people raising funds, and they've raised $75,000. They need $150,000. They're going to lift it off the property and move the entire house 2 miles down the road.
Whoa.
And they're going to replant it and I guess turn it into some type of museum and all that stuff.
Isn't that cool?
Well, the immediate thing that came into my mind, because it looks kind of like the house when you go House of the Unusual, the original website I had that had the dark black house like that.
Yeah.
It looks like that. And I feel like asking them, hey, I like to put you in my show. I like to try to get some funds raised and stuff.
Oh.
In exchange, I would like to take like pictures of the property and stuff to use it for props. Because let me tell you, the house is phenomenal. I sent you guys a picture to see it. This is really right out of the horror books.
Wow.
Or haunted houses. And this thing is beautiful, man. Really beautiful. Like I said, you guys have a picture so that you can get an idea. That's what's been new in my area. Also, Chuck, I thought it was funny. I just put up this week's, tomorrow's, Chuck, not tomorrow, the day after Friday morning's Chuck's Corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I got back whipped by a copyright infringement. I was like, what the heck? And I'm looking, and you know what it is, Chuck? When you have that, it's the Oriental Magic video.
Yeah.
You have the music with the gong in the background.
Oh, yeah.
That came up as copyrighted. So I had to change the music.
You change the music. Okay.
To a free, but that was interesting because I was like, what the heck?
Isn't that something? Wow.
Yeah. It's funny how YouTube automatically knew who wrote the song and all that stuff.
What's amazing.
And it's something you just got off the air. But anyway, that's the other thing that was funny. And then the other thing is, oh boy, the more I think about it, it's amazing to see how much there is people out there. Like, for example, the audiences and stuff that we could have. And I need to work on in getting the correct audience for our YouTube channel. As you have known, I was actually not aware of it, but we've been broadcasting on the podcast to people between the ages of 45 and 62. And that's 85% of our audience. Our YouTube channel has been the ages of 35 to 42, which is technically not our audience. Not for the novelties and monsters, because none of them would probably even know what monsters are. It has been growing due to the fact that Mr. Chuck Caputo has been so nice and generous to put up all those Chuck's Corner, and it keeps getting a couple of hundred views every week, and that's due to the fact for the magic. Magic, of course, is through all the ages, from a very young age to old. Everybody knows magic, not when it comes to classic monsters and collectible novelties. So that's something I need to fix, going forward, which I was kind of working on last night a little, in running ads to generate, the audience we're looking for. And then it will probably grow like crazy. But that's what I got to say, Joe. So go ahead, Joe, take the next step.
All right. I tell you what, that house looks cool. It would be cool, I think, to turn it into, a haunted house. That's something.
Oh my gosh!
For,
yeah,
that would
Halloween,
be cool.
because that is really cool. It looks something almost like an Addams Family or Monsters type house.
Well, Joe, if you think about it, since I read in the online article that they're hoping people can help out and stuff, if I actually approach these people in person and say, hey, here's what I like to do, is it possible to use it as a back? I'll help you guys. I'll do, because I know a couple of people that do fundraising. We'll do a GoFundMe type of thing for it, provided that we not only get the credit, but we get the use of the unlimited thing for the property. Because I got to be honest with you, it's gorgeous, man. If you pass right in front of it, I have another picture, but my wife kind of drove pretty fast on it. The house is phenomenal. It's exactly right out of the books of the Addams Family or the Monsters. It's nice, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's really cool. That'd be interesting to do something like that. So, but yeah, hey, did you guys get a chance to check out on the forum the some of the novelties that I've been posting?
You got the rolling pin, Joe? I mean, sorry, go ahead. Chuck, go ahead.
Did any of you guys get a chance to see them?
No,
I haven't. Where are they posted?
They're under. If you go onto the forum, they're under the
mail.
I believe it's the mail call. Yeah, the mail call section.
I haven't seen them. I'll have to take a look.
So what happened was, our buddy Todd, he a couple weeks ago, he bought a. I guess he bought a lot of mail order items because they came with a Sea Monkeys. I think it was a Sea Monkeys item that he really wanted. So, but he had to purchase the whole lot of different stuff.
Sure.
So all the other mail order items and the stuff were kind of like, I guess like sex novelty type.
Oh, wow.
From the 50s and 60s. So I was going through it and I was cracking up so much just going through a few of these things. I mean, they're absolutely hilarious. So I said, I'm going to post every now and then 2 items on the forum site. You know, you never know when, kind of like, you know, when you would order the mail order items, you didn't know when it was when, you know, how long. So I wanted to do it something like that. You don't know when I'm going to post them on there.
Oh, I'll check that out. Oh, that's cool.
Well, here's the best part. Mr. Todd put an article there in the morning, and that's why I need the rolling pin. And he's giving away whatever it is in the box. And so happens Mr. Joe happened to be in the forum before anybody else.
Yeah.
And guess who got him? So, you know, the envy and I said, wow, man.
Yeah, I actually just happened to log on to the forum. I think it was 2 minutes after he posted it.
Right. So if I had a rolling pin or, you know, whatever, to take care of that matter for the future, Chuck.
So here's just a description of a few of the items that are posted. So if you you got kids out there under the age of 18, you might want them to put the earmuffs.
Uh-oh.
But so the first 2 I put up, the first one is how it's just a yellow box and it says, how do you measure up? And then on the inside, it says official pecker checker. And it has all these holes in it with, you know, Big Daddy, the freezer, the poker.
The Japanese one killed me, Joe.
There's the lady figure made in Japan, and it's like an oval. Then there's the teaser, which is really small. And then there's another box, and it you know, just says happy birthday and all that on it with some candles, and you open it up and it's a pile of fake poop.
That's pretty good.
Oh, it was great. So then I posted 2 more the other day, and you got to really see these to appreciate them. So the next 2 is, like I said, these from the 50s and 60s, and these are very sexist and adult themed and all that. And you know, they're a product of their time, definitely, but they're absolutely hilarious. So the next one is Bikini for Men, and it's this, you know, 50-year-old fat guy on the cover with this smirk on his face and 2 women oogling at him with bikinis in the background. And you open the bikini and it's this thin material and it's in the shape of the testicles and penis, to put it in, for lack of a better term, on you know how to describe it. And then it has all these, you know, it says Hawaii on it, Natsu, Atlantic City. So it is it's a bikini for men. And then
I'm blushing right here listening to this.
Don't forget, this is all from Todd. So this is all
that's right. Blame Todd, the guy who writes. I can't say the words all over his instructions.
Yeah.
And then he tries to say that it's a different time, you know.
I love the art. You know what, Joe? The artwork on the covers are so cool, man. I always fantastic.
Like I said, I was dying. I was dying looking at these. Even the artwork on the front, like this next one, the electric gum massager, and it's got a picture of, you know, this 50-year-old guy with, you know, no hair, and he's got a bow tie on, and he's got this big, huge smile on his face, and this girl pressing him into her chest, and this other girl looking on and with the smile. And I'm thinking, okay, what the heck could this be? You know, electric gum massager. I could only imagine.
You can only imagine.
So I open it up, and it's a small pair of. They're supposed to be breasts, but they look weird. I don't know. I guess that's what they're supposed to be, breasts that you plug in, and they just kind of like vibrate. So they are the gum massage.
Oh my gosh.
Joe, one thing I wanted to mention with all that, a lot of people are not aware, but I know that Mr. Dr. Saab there would be crazy about most of those items were either made by Fish Love or they were made by Franco-American Novelty Company. Yeah,
Franco carried a lot of
and one of the probably Mike and Chuck will remember even more. There were 3 other ones. I don't know if Joe, Todd sent you those among the crowd, but one was called the French Birth Control, and it shows a guy like a Frenchman in the front cover, kind of holding his mouth, and then when you open it up, it has a guillotine.
Oh, wow.
I think I remember seeing that
pecker,
one years ago. Yeah.
Guillotine for the pecker. And then there's one that says Polish pistol, and it's basically a pistol, and the barrel is pointed backwards.
It's backwards. I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then the funniest one, too, that a lot of people, it's got to be from the time zone, people that are hillbillies and stuff. And I know about this because I did grow up, but I was born in Cuba in a farm, and I can attend. They put a corn cob, just a cob, and it has an electrical outlet coming out.
Yes.
It's called electric toilet paper.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, there's some great play on words, man.
Yeah. There's quite a few, but most of those are Fish Love, or Lovecraft is another company that I think became, I forgot who they became. Dave Harvest, I would know the company, but and it also became Franco American, some of those things.
Yeah, Franco carried a lot of neat stuff. They really did throughout the years. Wow.
But yeah, Joe, you have a little good collection there, my friend. Some of those do pretty good, and if you were to sell them individually.
Yeah, I'm still kind of debating if I want to keep them or not, or give them away or sell them. But I'm having a blast with it. They are just
funny, man.
You guys got to check them out on the site. Go to the forum on and everyone else there.
Check out. Wow.
Don't sell them, Joe, because they're they're classics from the time that will obviously never be sold again. And I can tell you, I bought one when I was a small kid. I have a couple of them, Joe. I'm only kidding when I was saying about you being on the site before me, but
sure you were.
Well,
now you want to smooth it over.
I have most of the ones you have there. I think except for the pecker one there, the how to measure up. I think I don't have that, but I might have had it in the past, and I think it got burned in my fire. But one thing I'm going to tell you special about, I had one that I still have actually mint condition. It was called the adult pull toy, and what it is it's a bed. Now this thing is about a foot across by it's pretty big by 10 inches, and it's a little bed, and then when you have like the head of a man and woman on the bed under the sheets, and when you pull it, it has wheels and it goes up and down like that.
I remember that. That was
you
cool.
Remember that? It's called the adult pull toy.
That was pretty neat. I love the way Joe said, "Hey, this is a guy, about a 50-year-old guy with no thinning hair and so forth." You know what? That doesn't sound too old anymore, Joe, because I'm 58 now. It's crazy.
I know, but yeah, that's you know, Chuck, it's funny you said that because you look at some of the stuff, and you guys are a little bit older than me. I'm almost 42, and I look at some of the, you look at these classic movies, and
they seem so old. They seem
so old, and then you look at them, and they're like in their 30s, and you're like, I swear they're in their 50s. I'm like,
yes,
it's amazing. It's amazing. The one thing
so it's not just me then, because I'm like, well, maybe I just look, pretty decent for my age. But then I'm looking at this guy, from the 50s in the movie, and he looks like he's in his 50s, and he's 36. I'm like, are you kidding me?
You know what's kind of funny what you're saying with those things, guys? You ever seen the cartoons, especially from the Pink Panther and stuff, where the guys tend to be skinny on top, then they got a slight pot belly and stuff like that?
Yeah.
You know what's sad? When you start looking in the mirror and you start resembling those cartoons, and you're like, wait a minute, man.
Oh, yeah. The older you get, man, you're built like a Who, from Whoville. Yeah.
I always thought that Karloff always looked old.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He had the older looking face. You're right.
Yeah.
Hey, when you watch him in the Black Cat or any of those early films, he looked old, but he wasn't. But he looked old.
Hey, how about some of the old ball players? And the old timers.
Oh yeah.
My goodness. You know what? I'm out here in Pittsburgh, and I think Smokey Burgess, if I'm not mistaken, he was a catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah,
he had a big gob of chew in his mouth and everything. He looked about 50. He was like 24 years old.
I know it.
Unbelievable.
You know who's a good one for that too? Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth always looked older. He did. Never looked like any.
He also had a diet of hot dogs, cigars, and beer. So,
how old did he die?
I always heard a good saying that about Babe Ruth, and I heard this years ago, 20 years ago. So they said, what? Some these newer baseball players, they have to do they have to hit all these home runs and everything on steroids. Babe Ruth did it with hot dogs and beer.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's true. It's true.
How
That
old
guy
did he
could
die
hit,
when
man.
he died? Does anybody know?
Not offhand.
I know he died of throat cancer. Strangely enough, I believe it was throat cancer.
Oh.
So that's from the cigars, but I don't know the age.
Yeah, him and Lon Chaney both.
Yeah.
Well, Lon Chaney, the man of 1,000 faces. I gotta admit though, that makeup, like you said, I think that one of the best photographs I've ever seen of monsters is the Phantom of the Opera. Even though among collectors, let's be honest, among collectors, very few people buy Phantom of the Opera stuff. It's just like I was talking to Dave Haversack the other day because he was like, "Hey Eddie, you ever consider selling something like we brought up the idea of selling like the Mummy as a big size poster?" And I said, he goes, "There were so many sequels to it." I said, "Yeah, there's so many sequels, but I think it's a hard sell." I mean, it's kind of like, Joe, you, Chuck, Mike, all of us would say, "Hey, that's a nice Frankenstein. Let me buy you. Let me buy the Dracula." But if you see the Wolfman or, you might buy the Creature. Like I said, I've always told everybody, the Creature has a very odd segmented cult following.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
they pay crazy amount, but
fanatics out there for it.
Yeah, but the Wolfman, man, I gotta be honest with you, they'll buy Lon Chaney stuff, but it's like out of 10 people, one person will say, "Oh, I have a life-size Wolfman" or something. It's not that many. And the Mummy, even though they've made, and I told him, I think the reason for so many sequels on the Mummy, and Joe, you're the expert, and so you will be able to say, in my opinion, is because it's the least that you can copyright. You know what I'm saying? Like the Mummy has any type of face. There's not particular likeness, so people can get away because mummies are you can't trademark the name, you can't copy. So maybe that's why they've made so many sequels. While the Wolfman, they've made a sequel or two about it because that's between all the monsters, the only family that has not profited or made a lot of money for has been the Lon Chaney family for some reason, and they never really protected their stuff. Just like Houdini, as much as Houdini did during his lifetime, and he tried to protect all his stuff, and he was against anybody infringing on him. When he passed away, I guess the wife didn't really know how to do that, and like Houdini's used like worldwide. You can use his image on anything you want. There's no thing like if you use Frankenstein or you use Dracula, you're going to run into legal problems.
The thing about it is that with Houdini, they didn't have any children or anything, so I don't think they were concerned about after they were gone, perhaps. But with the Cheneys, I will tell you that actually there was a big lawsuit with the Universal Studios, and the Cheneys, the Lugosi's, and the Karloffs all band together. Of course, Bela Lugosi Jr. was a lawyer. That's what he did for a living. And wow. Yeah. And so I've met them many times, all the family members. And I know you had Sarah on your show too, Eddie. But the deal is they band together. They did a group lawsuit against Universal. So what you'll see is a lot of times you will see the Glenn Strange Frankenstein image a lot used, like even at the parking lot at Universal. But if they're going to use anything to do with Lon Chaney Jr., anything to do with the face, their actual face and makeup, then Universal has to pay a fee. That's why a lot of the action figures don't exactly look like the Lon Chaney or the Lugosi, or they don't look like them because they choose to go with one that doesn't look like them, so they don't have to pay the rights. But actually, the Chaney family now gets the same cut that Lugosi and the Karloffs get.
I think that they were the last ones to go on board. I think it's
yes, that's right. Yeah.
But the thing about the whole thing is that at the same time, Universal lost so much in sales the moment they didn't have the characters look like them.
That's right.
They caved into a lot of that stuff. But like for example, when you say the Wolfman, and all that, like I said, it was because there was not too many family left. But with the Mummy, you don't have that because
that's right.
Is Sarah Karloff? She of course has her father was the first mummy, but there's been so many mummies after that, and it goes back to a lot of things. Like a lot of times, also when things are in the public, not in the public domain, but when somebody copyrights an item, and then that person sells, and it never gets questioned 20 years later, it's hard to stake a claim by any company and say, hey, a good example, say. The Jack Davis Frankenstein is one of the items that was put out, very famous and stuff. And I would say probably 25 years ago, I made my first reproduction of that poster and never got questioned on it. Sold it for 25 years, and then 200 other people did as well.
Yeah.
That's a poster that today no one really can stake a claim on. While Vampirella actually stayed unpublished. I should have hit it before they did, but the people that bought Warren Publishings reissued it again.
Yes.
See, if I would have done that before they reissued it, and they wouldn't have said nothing, because if you guys remember, when Forrest J. Ackerman, I guess, or James Warren sold the rights to, I forgot who was the guy, then he got boycotted because
yes,
with and then he sold it to somebody. You know what I'm saying? Along the road there, when you start using something over and over and you don't get questioned, and there's 10 people doing it, you go to a court of law and you try to say, hey, that's my item. Well, how come you never said nothing? It's just like right now, House of the Unusual is a trademark. If I stop using House of the Unusual for more than 6 or 7 months at any given time, somebody can actually take it on me. I can lose that trademark.
Wow.
You have to always have something with the trademark on. That's why if it's Coca-Cola or whatever it is, it always has to be active. You cannot have a trademark inactive.
Wow.
Well, a good example, Dave Harvest owns Houdini Cologne. And I'm like, hey, Dave, I'm surprised you didn't really get he says, Eddie, something needed to be done. So he had a perfume made. It's being sold out there. But the point is that you always have to have something to back up your trademark.
I see.
The cologne that makes women disappear.
Yeah, there you go.
No, it's actually puts women in bondage.
Yeah, like that.
Forever.
Hey, Eddie, you were talking about the werewolves and all that, and I just happened, and thanks to our good buddy Todd, who posted on the forum, the Adventures of Superman number 487. So if all you boys and girls have your comics handy out there, grab this issue, and it's it definitely tugs at my heartstrings because I love Christmas covers on comic books.
Oh yeah.
And this one is with this mean looking Santa on the front and Superman standing behind him with the a Santa cap on. But I tell you what's really cool about this issue, and Eddie, I'll let you discuss the what's in this issue that we're kind of oogling and ogling over.
Stupid Man Comics.
The Adventures of Superman. What do we have in this issue?
The Adventures of... Oh, I thought you said stupid. I swear I heard stupid. I go, wow. I'm trying to think what that's. If you're trying to say, I know Ski came across an ad from the old Fun Factory.
That was Todd.
No, that's actually Ski. And Ski wanted to know if I knew, but obviously we're just joking around because he wanted me to send him a signed copy of the Fun Factory. And here's what the thing is with the Fun Factory. As the story goes, in 1989, I had opened up a magic shop, which was called it was actually P&E, House of the Unusual, but it was called P&E House of Unusual, not the Unusual. And that because I had a partner and we opened up a magic shop. But after the thing was broken up, I changed it over to House of the Unusual because every time you told somebody houseofunusual.com, they would always say the. So I said, you know what, instead of that, I'm going to change it to the. So I got the trademark as House of the Unusual, and then the Fun Factory became House of the Unusual. And one of the reasons that happened is because when the Fun Factory was started with Lou Wise back in the 1969, and it ran for several years to about 1980, it went, as it was going belly up later on, there was like an auction sale. And the guy who owned the Fun House, which is that famous ad that sold $1 million in U.S. banknotes for 50 cents. And it was out of Newark, New Jersey, and it was called the Fun House. That owner was Jack Aboff. He had actually purchased the rights to the Fun Factory, at which case he contacted me and Lou after the ad came out in that particular article of Superman or in DC Comics. I believe was the year 92, 93.
Yeah, 93.
It was supposed to be the February issue, but it went on sale in mid-December. And what happened is, with what was it, 92? You said, Joe?
Yeah, it's marked February 92, but like you said, they're always a few months ahead.
Right.
So
yeah. It was
December.
It came out like December 91 into 92, give or take. And what happened with that is Jack contacted us and said, hey, you guys kind of are using Fun Factory, blah, 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 blah. So he was asking, can you give him? So we said, no, we're not going to do that. So I decided to change it over to House of the Unusual. In which case, of course, Jack Baboff and every mail order legend has passed away except for Lou and Craig. And that basically why the fact that I already had House of Unusual, it didn't, worked fine by changing it to House of the Unusual. And that's the story of the Fun Factory. And then the last one good thing that a lot of people don't know is the first company that ever ran in a comic book ad, and I think I've mentioned this before in previous shows, was the Johnson Smith Company back in 1928 or 38 when they appeared in Action Comics, the first Superman. The ad in the back was the Johnson Smith Company. The Fun Factory was the last company to ever run a novelty ad in comic books. And you can you can go actually Google this and you will find out the last ad you will ever find in a comic book that dealt with novelties was actually 10 years after, because it ran in 92, and the last one prior to that was 84 or 85.
Wow.
So I can say that, and like I said, I can challenge anybody if they can, prove me wrong. But the last ad, and I was told by Bernie Slotnick, who had been working in DC Comics as their ad guy for, probably 40, 50 years. And his daughter, actually niece, was the one that did not Richie, what do you call it? The Archies. And
oh wow.
Yeah, her name was, I think, Susan Burkitz or something. She made a lot of appearances in the Howard Stern shows, and he would call her Susan Berserkowitz. That was actually the niece of Bernie Slotnick. But the point I'm trying to say, now I'm not saying I know that his niece was the one in Archie, because I spoke to her when I was trying to run a full page ad in Archie's, because Archie comics are the only comic books, I think, between 1980 and 1984 you will only see the digest in supermarkets.
Right.
Oh,
you could not find a comic book anywhere.
No, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, that was a time that I tell people I know they were still being sold. I don't know where, maybe in stores like Starlog and stuff like that in New York City. They've been around forever, but it wasn't sold in your local comic book store, or there were no comic book stores between that time. And then, of course, wrestling magazines came around. Then there was a big surge of comic book all over the places, and stores opening up, and the VHSs. But the thing is that there was a lack. Now, that ad, the one that I ran there, you guys will notice that it has all the classics. And one was the 7-foot ghost. And by the way, the person that put together that ad was Bob Levy. Now, Bob Levy from Filer and Levy in New York City was an advertising agency. The guy's now passed quite a few years ago. He passed around the same time as Bob from Franco-American Novelties. The owner passed away around the same year or so. And what happened is that guy and Lou, prior to meeting Lou, he's the guy who started the American Circle Corp. And that's the other famous mail order ad from the comic books in the 70s.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. I definitely. Yeah.
You had them, Honor House.
Yeah.
Well, you had a couple, Chuck. You had Gandalf Products. You had El Bar, which were a little in the early 60s, mid 60s. And then you had Johnson Smith, which was always around. Honor House became popular in the 70s.
Yeah.
And you had American Circle Corp. And they basically proliferated all the comic books. They were in every one of them. And if you look at Fun Factory, when Fun Factory came in that time as well, you'll notice a lot of the artwork are similar between Fun Factory and American Circle, because it was actually ran by the same person. Which was, yes, Lou Weiss owned the Fun Factory, and American Circle was owned by another guy who later moved down to Florida and started a hotel business. But the guy who did all the ads for it was the same Bob Levy. And he had a partner named Sven. It's like he was a French guy, not Fen, but Sven.
Sven, yeah.
Nice person. I met him in person. Thanks to Lou Weiss, he took me there. I was in a couple of meetings with them. Phenomenal people, and that's where I got my original American Circle Corp. I started looking through it.
Yeah. Hey, those original ads were great. I remember I placed my first order. I think I mentioned this in a prior podcast. I was 5 years old in 1969.
Wow.
I bought the 7-foot ghost. I bought the color changing handkerchief, a ball vase, and a few other things. It came to like maybe $4 or something. And I tell you what, I was so excited, man. I couldn't wait to get that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Hey guys, I want to step in here real quick because we got about 10 minutes, and I want to make sure that we get at least a little bit of this covered. Like Mike said in the beginning, is that tomorrow, March 24th, is the anniversary of Harry Houdini's birthday. So this podcast, which is really cool, will actually be coming out on the 24th. So I want to make sure we spend a few minutes here talking about Houdini. And you know what, Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you, and whatever you want to discuss about Houdini for his birthday. We got about 8 minutes or so until we start wrapping it up. So the floor is yours.
Oh, well, I have always loved Houdini, and there's many reasons. I mean, one of the great things about Houdini that a lot of people don't realize is that, he was born in a poor immigrant family, and yet he became the greatest star arguably in show business history. You have to think about this. Houdini died October 31st, 1926, almost 100 years ago, and yet people still know his name just as if it was Christina Aguilera or if it was one of the current stars. They know him.
Yeah, you know what's funny is because I was just thinking that when I was young, and like I said, I wasn't into magic, and the people I hung out with weren't into magic. But if you did anything where you would, screw around with your friends, making something disappear, I'm Harry Houdini. I'm Houdini.
Right.
Everybody knew Houdini, even if you weren't a fan of magic, or even if you never seen him read a book, you knew who Houdini was. He was a household name.
That's right. And even the littlest kid will raise their hand to this day. And the great thing about Houdini, in addition to becoming such a success, even though he's from a poor immigrant family, which is a story in itself, is that he did a lot of things nobody else ever would even dream of doing or attempt to do. But, he's the first person to fly a plane over Australia, like the Wright brothers had done in America. He set a record with that. He also, of course, was a movie star as well. And really no magician since his time has ever been a movie star. You can argue that David Copperfield was in some films, but Houdini had his own film company. He had his own films, and the reason he didn't really make it as a movie star, and this was the silent era, but the reason he didn't really make it as a movie star was because he was not a great lover on screen. He was very uncomfortable kissing women, actresses. And at that time, we had Rudolph Valentino and all of that. But the great part of Houdini was that if you go back to those films, and there was 4 of them, you will see him actually performing escapes as he performed them on stage. So they're a living record of his incredible escapes, and he did incredible things. I mean, he, a lot of people know him for the straitjacket, hanging upside down, all that, but he did crazy things too. I mean, he was locked inside of a squid one time. I mean, he did things that were insane, and he was very good on screen. He wasn't a lover on screen, and that's what people flocked to see in those days.
Yeah, that's what they wanted.
Yeah, but all of his escapes were legit on those films. And if you want to really see what he actually could do, well, that was the way to do it. And of course, there's so much misunderstandings about how he passed away, because a lot of people think he died in this water torture, or like with the Tony Curtis movie, which that's our favorite probably.
Right.
But, they showed him bumping into a illusion backstage, and his appendix getting damaged from that. But really what happened was he was up in Canada, and he was on tour, and he did he had this challenge where anybody could punch him in the stomach, and he could take any punch. Well, there were some college kids that came back to interview him. He was just sitting on the couch reading a newspaper. They asked him about that, and he didn't know that the kid was going to punch him immediately, and he punched him when he wasn't ready, and then boom, he got really injured, and he was in the hospital for like 10 days before he died on October of 1926. But there's another side of that too, in that a lot of people believe he had been warring on the spiritualists and warring on them, because he was so upset trying to reach his mother, and he exposed so many of these spiritualists that were not real. And he even went to Washington, D.C. and before Congress and demonstrated methodology that these spiritualists used. And so there's a theory that it might have been a spiritualist that wanted him dead and sent someone in there to do this to him. So there's that too. But a lot of mystery to Houdini right now. Some of the latest things that have come up is that he may have been a spy for America during the war, and that he actually, when he toured over to Germany and other countries, he was doing some undercover spy work for our country. So there's a lot of interesting information. It's all coming out. There's books about it. Some of it may be authentic, some not. But the point is, his myth or his legend, his mythic legend, is bigger than ever today, almost 100 years later.
Absolutely. I tell you what, Michael, the one thing I really liked is what you mentioned, is in his later years, like a few years before his death, he did come down on the fraudulent spiritualist, which, there was some crazy stuff going on. If you read the book by Julian Proskauer, Spook Crooks, I mean, it'll give you some examples. I mean, oh my goodness, the stuff that was done was unreal, man.
One thing that you guys also, I mean, I know you guys mentioned, I think Mike mentioned before, Houdini, when he did those films, one is called The Master of, what is it, Michael? Master of...
well, there's The Master Mystery, if that's what you're referring to.
The Master Mystery had a robot appear. That was the first time any type of automaton or robot made it to the major motion picture.
Mm-hmm.
So back in 1912, I think it was a Spanish newspaper that actually had a model kit that you could make and put together. Now, the last known copy of this sold at, I think, Sotheby's or some type of auction house for either $7,000 or $700. I don't remember. But the good news is, especially now since Houdini's anniversary and stuff, is that between me and Dave Harborside, we've been talking about this and stuff, and I got somebody to redraw those original plans.
Nice.
So we're going to be coming out with a set of plans that you'll be able to put together that same Houdini robot.
That predates actually Houdini, because his film was in 1919, so it somewhat predates it, but that was what they based it off of, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of controversy about that too, Eddie, because the robot, which was the first robot ever seen on film, was actually, at the end, it turned out that there was a human in it that was in a robot outfit. But for me, that image of the robot was always what I thought was a robot. Most of us didn't see the silent film when we were little because it wasn't available. Now it's available. You can see it on, for instance, on YouTube. But to all of us, that was a robot. So with experts in the sci-fi world, they're saying, well, that wasn't the legitimate first robot in a film, but yet it really, because it was a human in it. But in reality, to all of us, that was a robot, and that's why we thought of robots.
If you look at those films, and they're all those robots had a person
that's what I'm saying.
inside of it. So I would think that you would have to go with what it actually is. Yeah, it's portrayed as a robot. So I would think that you would have to say, yeah, it could, because like you said, Mike, the kids and everyone, they thought that was a robot.
Oh yeah.
You look at the future serials in the 20s and 30s when they had robots, it was still guys in suits. So it wasn't an actual robot per se. It was a person in a suit, just because they were outed in the movie as being a person in the suit, for the plot line or whatnot, doesn't make it, less of a robot.
Well, it wasn't until the last chapter of that serial that they actually exposed that. So depending on what you saw, but yeah, it kind of was the mold, the image of robot forever.
Right. That's exactly what I meant to say. And you know what, Mike, now that you said about the date on that, is very interesting, because I believe, unless I'm wrong, that the article might have been dated, but if you look it up, and it's called, it's actually in Spanish, because it's written in Spanish, and I think it's called Houdini versus the Tin Man, or Houdini versus the, what the heck is it called? My gosh, I forgot right now. But I think I'm almost positive, unless, I could be wrong now that you said the date, it might be one, but it's based on that. It is the robot from the movie. Now you're going to make me do some research on this. Joe, you got a computer. Why don't you do some research?
While you're checking that out, we're going to wrap it up here, because we're down to a little bit less than 2 minutes. I want to thank all of our guests for tonight for coming on, and a huge thank you to all of our listeners out there for spending some time with us and listen to us ramble about, our passions and our love and all that. Because that's what we do pretty much every week. That's all this is, unscripted, and it's just a nice conversation. So, you can find this on your favorite podcast platform. Definitely, subscribe to us. Give us a good review if you so choose, if you're enjoying it. Also, head over to our YouTube page. Just type in House of the Unusual. It'll pop up. Subscribe to our channel. hit the notification button, leave some comments. Eddie and Chuck are always putting up some great videos up there, and they're not long. They're fairly short, and they are an absolute blast. Definitely check them out. Also, our flagship site, houseoftheunusual.com. We have a forum site there. So those crazy toys that I was talking about earlier, you can find all the pictures on there and more. There's some great items that people show up there of their collection or stuff that they're looking for. Awesome time. So once again, I want to thank everybody out there for joining us. We are here every week, so make sure you find us every week. And like we just got done discussing, this will be coming out either late tonight or on the 24th. So a happy birthday to Harry Houdini, because in some way or another, whether you know it or not, he's touched all of us in our lives or influenced us in one way or another. So definitely a huge happy birthday to him, and a thank you for all that he did throughout his life and his career. So, gentlemen, that's all I got. So thank you all for joining us, and good night.
All right. Good night.
God
God
bless everybody. And guys, I sent both of you guys a link to what the robot thing looks like.
Cool.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Bye-bye.